The recognition ceremony's citation was read by a ceremonial official, whose voice had the practiced projection of someone who had been reading citations in the recognition chamber's acoustic architecture for long enough that the architecture and the voice had developed a specific relationship. And Renn Calder stood at the recognition position and listened to his own name, and the Karath installation recovery's description with the quality of someone who was paying respectful attention to a formal proceeding, and was also thinking about the second maintenance window in the Eastern Corridor Junction, which was the thing the completion report had flagged, and that he had not fully resolved, and that was going to require a return visit that his contracted operations division schedule had not yet accounted for. He had been doing this for 6 years, attending to formal proceedings with the respectful fraction of his attention that formal proceedings required, while the operational fraction attended to the things that were actually pending. It was not disrespect. It was the resource allocation of someone who had learned that operational problems did not pause for formal proceedings, and that the formal proceedings were better served by his presence than by his total attention. The citation concluded. The court applauded with the practiced quality of a court that had been applauding recognitions for centuries, and for whom the applause was the ceremonial marker of a phase concluding rather than the spontaneous expression of a response. Princess Aerith approached. He had been briefed on the princess, the contracted operations division's standard preparation for a mission that concluded in an imperial court recognition, and the briefing had covered her court standing and house affiliation and political significance in the general terms that division briefings used for court figures, which were the terms of someone describing a structural feature of the environment without quite understanding how the feature functioned. He had read the briefing with the attention he gave to all preparatory material, and had filed it in the category of incomplete but sufficient for the ceremony's immediate purpose. She carried the medal with the ease of someone who had performed this ceremony's formal presentation before, the ease of practice, which was not the same as the ease of indifference. She was present in the practice, which was the quality he registered first and which distinguished her from the ceremonial officials who were also practiced but were not equally present. She was close for the medal placement. The formal protocol required proximity. He understood this as a structural feature of the ceremony rather than a personal one, which was the understanding he brought to all structural features until he had reason to revise it. She placed the medal in his hand and said the formal words, the Empire's gratitude, the acknowledgement, the formal wish, with the composed quality of ceremony, and with eyes that had something in them that the composed quality was not containing, which was the quality of someone who was about to say something that was not part of the ceremony. The something she said was 7 words, in a register that the recognition chamber's acoustic architecture did not carry beyond the proximity the protocol required. I should have claimed you first. He looked at her face. The ceremony's composed quality was still in place. The visible surface was the ceremony's surface. The eyes were different. The eyes had the quality he had registered when she was approaching, which was the quality of someone present rather than only performing, and it was fuller now or he was reading it more accurately now, which was the same thing. The ceremony concluded its formal remaining stages. He was returned to the guest observer's position. He stood there with the medal in his hand and the 7 words in his ear and the court around him, and he did what he did when he encountered significant new information about a structure he was working in, which was hold it carefully until he understood what it meant. The guest wing's information system was comprehensive in the way of Imperial Station's guest wing systems, designed for visitors who needed to understand the court's structure quickly, and who had the specific needs of people who were in the court for a defined purpose and needed the relevant information to fulfill it. He accessed it at the ceremony's conclusion and spent 6 hours in the reading room with the systematic attention of someone who was building an understanding from the beginning, because the beginning was where you had to start when the structure was new. He understood the claiming system at the end of the 6 hours, its mechanism, its political function, its 300-year history in the Vahari court's political infrastructure, the specific way that exceptional individuals became political resources in a system that valued capability, and had developed a formal mechanism for translating capability into political standing. He understood the interval, the window between an individual's visibility and their claiming, during which the competition among houses for the claiming was most active. He understood House Vien's specific stake, which was different from the other three houses' general stakes in the way that specific dependencies were different from general interests. Sharper, more urgent, more precisely calibrated to the outcome. He understood the should-have, the timing regret of someone who had seen the value before the visibility and had not moved in the interval before the ceremony formalized it. He understood the claimed, the formal mechanism, and what it would have meant to move first. He looked at the metal. He looked at the reading room's window, which showed the court station's outer structure and the corridor traffic that the Karath installation recovery had stabilized. He thought about the second maintenance window in the Eastern Corridor junction, which was still pending in the operational fraction of his attention, and which was now also pending in the political fraction. Because the Eastern Corridor junction was in the pre-imperial infrastructure network that the multi-year maintenance engagement covered, and the multi-year maintenance engagement was what the claiming competition was about. He made a decision about how to attend the reception. The reception had the quality of a formal social gathering that was doing multiple things simultaneously, which was the quality of all formal social gatherings in political environments. The official function on the surface and the operational function underneath it, and the people who understood both moving through both at once. He moved through both. He had been doing this in operational environments for 6 years, and the reception's version of it was not structurally different from the versions he had encountered in contracted operations contexts. Only the specific currency of the competition was different, not mission outcomes, but political standing, which was the court's currency, and which he was learning to read with the same methodical attention he gave to every unfamiliar currency. House Karath's representative found him at 7 minutes. The urgency was higher than his pre-reception projection had placed it, and he registered the discrepancy and gave it the attention it required while conducting the conversation with the quality of someone who was simultaneously receiving an approach and gathering information about what the approach revealed about the approacher's position. House Karath's infrastructure stake was larger than the briefing had indicated. The completion report's technical appendix had been read. The implication of the multi-year engagement had been fully calculated. House Karath had moved first because House Karath had the most urgency after House Veen, and House Karath had the most urgency after House Veen because House Karath's infrastructure dependency was broader than the briefing had suggested. He filed this revision and continued. House Veth's representative found him at 22 minutes, after House Karath's approach had concluded without commitments, and with a significant amount of useful information that he was processing in the operational fraction, while the conversational fraction managed the social surface. House Veth's approach was the measured approach of a house that did not need to be first, which told him something about House Veth's assessment of its own competitive position relative to the other three houses. At 38 minutes, he positioned himself at the Eastern Refreshment Station, which was the reception's least socially dense location, and processed the two approaches' information with the full attention that the space's density permitted. Princess Aerith found him there. She approached without the ceremony's composed quality and without the reception's performed social ease, which meant she had assessed the Eastern Refreshment Station's position correctly and had come to it for the same reason he had, which was the reason of someone who wanted a less structured environment for a more direct conversation. "The houses have been speaking with you," she said. "3 of them," he said. "House Karath moved faster than I projected. Their stake in the pre-imperial infrastructure is larger than the briefing indicated." She looked at him with the quality that had been present since the ceremony, the present quality, the attending quality. "You've been assessing the political landscape," she said. "I've been in an unfamiliar operational environment for 6 hours," he said. "Assessing the landscape is what you do. Most people in your position at this reception," she said, "are experiencing the attention. I had 6 hours," he said. "The attention phase was this morning." She looked at him for a moment that had the close quality of the ceremony's proximity without the ceremony's protocol requiring it, which was the quality of the Eastern Refreshment Station, the reception's least structured location, the place you went when you wanted the conversation the official environment didn't allow. "What has the analysis produced?" she said. He considered whether the question was a House representative's approach or a person's genuine interest, and he determined it was the second because the quality in the question was the quality of genuine interest, which he could distinguish from performed interest because genuine interest had a different quality in the voice. He told her what the analysis had produced. He told her about House Veen's specific stake and the other 3 houses' general stakes, and the interval's political dynamics, and the protocol's structural error that had produced the open interval. He told her with the accuracy of someone describing a structure he had spent 6 hours understanding. "You are analyzing the court's protocol structure," she said. "I analyze the structure of the environment I'm working in," he said. "The court's political system is the environment I'm working in. What does the analysis recommend?" He looked at the reception. He looked at her. "That I understand the claiming system completely before I make any decisions about it," he said. "Which I don't yet." He looked at her steadily. The 7 words were a statement, not a proposal. What the proposal looks like, the terms, the provisions, what House Veen would offer and what would be required in return, I don't have that information. She looked at him for a long moment. "You are asking for the formal claiming proposal," she said. "I'm asking for the information necessary to make an informed decision," he said. "In this context, that's the same thing." The corner of her expression moved toward something. She told him about the 7-day window, the 14 days to respond, all 4 houses permitted to submit. She told him without advocating for House Veen's proposal specifically, which was the choice of someone who understood that advocacy was less persuasive than information to someone who made decisions through analysis. "All of them," he said, "not only House Veen's." "All of them," she confirmed. "The 7 words," he said, "they were not a calculated communication." She looked at him. "How could you tell?" "Calculated communications don't have that quality in the voice," he said. "The voice had the quality of something true." She was quiet for a moment. That had the specific quality of someone receiving an observation that was accurate, and that they were receiving rather than managing. "The proposals arrive within 7 days, she said. "Then I will read them," he said. He read them in the order that made analytical sense. House Carath's proposal was aggressive on the financial provisions and comprehensive on the protection package. The proposal of a House that had assessed the competition and had determined that the most comprehensive offer was the competitive strategy. It was well constructed and revealed, in its technical provisions, that House Carath had read the completion report's appendix with care, but without the specific comprehension that a technical expert would bring. The provisions were accurate in the way of someone who had understood what the maintenance required without understanding why it required it, which was the understanding of a non-technical reader reading a technical document. House Veth's proposal was measured and well constructed and reflected the standing of a house that could afford not to offer everything. Its technical provisions were general in the way of someone who had read the summary rather than the appendix. House Keithran's proposal was brief and specific and honest about its limited scope, which he found professionally useful. A proposal that knew exactly what it wanted and said so was a more useful document than a proposal that claimed to want more than it actually needed. He read House Veen's proposal on the morning of Day 7. The technical provisions were specific in a way that revealed genuine comprehension, not the accurate without understanding of House Carath's provisions. The understanding that came from reading the appendix with the attention of someone who was engaging with what the appendix said rather than extracting what it needed to say. The seasonal variance in the Eastern Corridor Junction's second maintenance window was in the provisions. He had flagged it in the completion report as a pending consideration, and the provisions had picked it up and structured the maintenance schedule around it, which meant whoever had written the technical provisions had read the flag and had understood what it meant for the schedule. The clause before the formal terms summary was 2 sentences in the formal language of a claiming agreement. He read it twice. The independent judgment clause, the acknowledgement that the value was in the judgment rather than the compliance. The formal protection of the thing that made the value valuable. He put the proposal down. He looked at the metals case on the desk. He looked at the window. He made the decision with the quality of someone who had completed the assessment. The response to House Veen was filed through the formal channel, the signed acceptance, the standard protocol's completion requirement. The communication to the Contracted Operations Division was accurate and thorough. The communications to the 3 declining houses were professionally courteous and specific enough to not be dismissible as form letters. He was claimed. He looked at the claiming agreement. He looked at the independent judgment clause. He looked at the maintenance schedule and the seasonal variance in the second maintenance window and the communication he needed to send to the person who had understood what the flag meant. He wrote, "The claiming agreement has been filed. The maintenance schedule for the Carath installation's pre-imperial infrastructure begins in 3 weeks. I have reviewed the technical provisions in the agreement and find them accurate and specific in a way that suggests the provisions were written by someone who read the completion, reports technical appendix with genuine comprehension. I would like to discuss the maintenance schedule with that person before the engagement begins, as the schedule will benefit from their understanding of what the maintenance requires and my understanding of what the infrastructure actually is. Separately, the 7 words had the quality of something true. This communication has the same quality. I thought you should know. He sent it. He put the metals case on the desk's corner, which was the position of something filed rather than pending. Outside the window, the Vahari Imperial Court was conducting its political business with the patient efficiency of 300 years of practice. The 3 houses whose proposals he had declined were in the information-gathering phase of their response, which was the phase that preceded the response, and the response when it came would be what it was going to be. The claiming agreement's protection provisions addressed the most acute risks. The maintenance engagement's operational requirements provided the context in which the most effective response to political competition was the quality of the work rather than the quality of the politics. Because the infrastructure's maintenance was what the claiming was about, and the infrastructure's maintenance done well was the most durable argument for the claiming's value. He understood this. He was a mission specialist. He solved problems without introducing new ones. The problem here was that the Eastern Corridor Junction's second maintenance window had a seasonal variance that the schedule needed to account for, and the person who had understood the flag was on the other end of a communication channel that was now the appropriate channel. And the 17th hour was something a response could mention if the response was going to mention anything. The response arrived in 4 hours. He read it at the desk with the full attention of someone reading a document that was simultaneously operational and not only operational. The maintenance schedule discussion should begin before 3 weeks. The pre-imperial infrastructure's Eastern Corridor Junction has a seasonal variance in the second maintenance window that the completion report documented, but that the schedule does not account for. I read the technical appendix carefully. I would like to discuss the variance before the first maintenance window closes. Separately, I know what the 7 words had. This response has the same quality. Come to the Eastern Garden at the 17th hour. The architecture there is worth assessing. He read it twice. He looked at the metals case on the corner. He looked at the window. The Eastern Garden was at the 17th hour. The seasonal variance needed to be discussed before the first maintenance window closed. The architecture was worth assessing. He was a mission specialist. He went where the work was. He got up. He went.